Hello, James.
Hey Eva, thanks for having me on the show again.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. We're going to talk about the NDIS from a provider's perspective.
Yes.
And so I understand the NDIS came in to replace a previous government scheme. Can you tell me how it's going?
Sure. So I should lay it down with the previous scheme, what that was. The government had a scheme in place to look after people with disability. Mm-hmm. The scheme had a lot of gaps in it. It was very regimented through the government. And then the government really thought long and hard about this. And they thought this is not working for people and families. There was a lot of disconnects with families of disabled children. And remember back then, there wasn't the awareness there is now either. People were really struggling. Mm-hmm. So thankfully the government did something about it. They looked at a new scheme, but they also looked at a scheme that would be more effective cost-wise, but giving people choice and control.
So I understand, obviously, it wasn't just about disabled children either, was it? It's about disabled people across the board.
Across the board. And back in those days, neurodivergent people with acquired brain injuries, it wasn't heard of as much because people's mindsets used to be back then, oh, that person's had an accident and that was it. They didn't think of people holistically like they do now.
Mm. Great. So tell me, how many participants does the NDIS have?
There's roughly, say, 765,000 people at the moment. That is changing. The NDIS itself came in between 2013 and officially really ramped fully up around 2020. The scheme's been going quite a while now, as you're aware. Mm-hmm. But things are changing in that space. But the system, look, a lot of people will always look at negatives. The system was built very efficiently. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be hurdles, but it's way better than the previous system that we had. And I'm very grateful for it personally.
Sure. Now, I'm speaking from a layperson's point of view. Many people think that everybody with a disability is covered by the NDIS, but actually the NDIS only covers about 18% of people with disabilities in Australia. Yeah. And I find that somewhat problematic because the general thought is that, okay, you've got a disability, you're covered by the NDIS, but no. Many people are not covered by the NDIS.
It's a bit more complicated than that.
Can you speak to me about this?
If the easiest way to explain it to people is think of segments.
Mm-hmm.
So the NDIS will cover people of disability. Mm-hmm. It covers more and more people with different disabilities now. We talked about acquired brain injuries, mm-hmm. neurodiversity. Mental health issues are really getting a lot of attention now, which they never did before, and they do need the attention too. But if you look at it from the very beginning to the end of a person's life cycle, and what happens in between is the easiest way to explain it. So until about the age of 6, children are generally covered through early childhood learning systems. That is also changing. The government's actually changing the way that works before people lead in to the NDIS. So there's more coverage there. But don't forget, once people are in the NDIS, there's still a number of facilities outside the NDIS. There's the hospital system. Mm-hmm. Hospital systems cover mental illness and brain injuries and illnesses. And they assist people who need operations because of disabilities, deformities, accidents. So there's a lot of other systems in place. It's not just the NDIS.
No, we're talking about acute care here, of course, aren't we?
But also you have aged care,
mm-hmm.
you have veteran affairs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other avenues. And the government keeps changing it and moving it around to make it more efficient. And there's still, even this year, there's massive changes with how they do the care and what cares are provided. Mm. And don't forget, people that do have TAC or work cover still have access to occupational therapists, mm-hmm. speech therapists, physios. Those mechanisms are still in place, but sometimes they might come from a hospital, sometimes they might come from a private sector. It's actually covered really well, to be quite honest. I'm a big fan of the NDIS, but these other facilities are necessary.
Yes. So you're an NDIS provider. How does that work for you?
Well, I guess I have a bigger view because I do NDIS, TAC, work cover, hospitals. Our statewide organisation does a whole gamut of things at Evergreen Disability Care. So I get to see the different players, if you like. The systems are very much structured similar. The NDIS was really built as an insurance scheme, as a true insurance scheme. You use it while you need it, right? It could be a day, a week, a year, it could be forever. Other schemes like TAC and work cover, they're hoping you'll get better over an injury. Because a lot of the injuries they do have, it might be they've hurt their elbow and within 6 months' time they might go back to work and things like that. So they run slightly differently, but they all mesh together more these days than ever. TAC and work cover are almost the same body now, the way they run it.
Yeah.
NDIS, although it is different, NDIS and TAC talk together all the time. You can actually have multiple funding or different funding streams. So just because you have one doesn't mean you can't draw on the other.
Yeah.
Normally it's only done for things like housing and structures like that, but there's all these different players to make the system work, not just NDIS.
Of course, because we're looking at TAC and work cover are covering people who get injured.
Yes.
But what are other challenges that people face in getting funded?
So let's talk about the NDIS space first. They've made it very accessible. Under the old system, you used to have to go to the government, you'd have to have your doctor's letter, and it was very haphazard to even getting funding. Back in those days, it was very much a parent's responsibility. Now they realise that these people with variability have choice and control under the NDIS. They never had a lot of choice and control before. It was very institutional based. And it's about community access, capacity building. And these are all accessible through simple forms you can download from the NDIS. You fill out the form, you put in your doctor's reports. It can be as simple as that. You can get advocates. There's many advocates now that will help you. You can go to what's called a local area coordinator, an LAC. They work as part of the NDIS, and they can even have meetings with people to help them get funded. A lot of people now, even though NDIS companies shy away from helping people getting funding because there's an ethical boundary there, because there's a business incentive, they still help people and point them in the right direction. So there's a lot more awareness than there ever was. And I come across a new advocacy group like daily that has really good information for people.
Yeah, I was going to say the rise of, say, advocates on especially on LinkedIn is stratospheric.
It is.
How do they help people?
So what's happened is a lot of these people are very in tune with the NDIS and the public systems, and they've gone through the process themselves in many cases, and they promote awareness, and they even help these people to find information. Because don't forget, a lot of these people with variability, if you've had a brain injury, you may not be able to process certain things. Now, there's no harm in coming forward to these people and saying, I need a bit of help.
Yes.
And there are people to help where they weren't 20 years ago.
Yeah, of course. So let me know how complex it is behind the scenes.
Wow. First of all, when I have participants or clients, we try to make it as seamless as possible. But because we are really talking, wearing my hat as a director of a statewide organisation, it's very complex. There's endless audits, and they're very thorough audits. They can last a long time to get these audits through. We do a policy process. We have a lot of systems. We have a lot of things we have to do. The government gives us a phone book full of regulations we have to follow. It's extremely complicated behind the scenes, but good organisations, although they don't hide things from you, they take that ease out of it. So my clients will have transparency with what plan they've got and what we're doing to help them and how much it's costing. We take that burden off them because, you know, we're reading the acts on disability. We're reading things like something people could relate to, privacy laws. You know, I know the privacy laws from 1988 back to front. That's just one of 1,000 things we have to do. That's just a simple example. So yeah, look, to answer it as quickly as I can, it's complicated.
Yeah. about these stigmas that exist in society. Can you let me know a little bit about it from your perspective?
Sure. Years ago, when I was working in the field, people would come up to you and go, oh, that person shouldn't be out here and all this sort of stuff. It really used to happen. Mm-hmm. Here's the great news, and this is something I'm actually excited about, and we even talk about it in our organisation. Mm-hmm. Through so much public awareness, through doctors now getting the training they need to understand things, even like ADHD, they're getting more training in identifying it. As these things progress, it seeps into the greater society. Mm. And I'm finally starting to see, just in the last year or so, the stigmas being broken down. The supporters, families supporting, people supporting the families, and it becoming less stigmatic. I was dealing with a gentleman with a mental health issue, and we had a conversation about his treatment. He's doing well. Now, 10 years ago, schizophrenia, people wouldn't talk to them. They were scared of them. There was ignorance around the issues. I'm seeing it really changing. It's becoming really positive. If anything, I'm seeing people supporting more than ever, and it makes me very happy.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that people are self-identifying now, and there's a sense of pride where there was only shame before.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. Honestly, I do. And, I talk about this to clients all the time. Just be yourself. Because people are used to being downtrodden. But that's changing. And, I've come across a lot of neurodiverse clients and people even with brain injuries that almost try to hide it. And we call it masking with neurodiversity. They pretend, autistics, because our company was originally set up for autism. Yeah. They do what's called masking. They pretend to fit in. Now, if they're functional, you shouldn't have to pretend.
No.
If you can function with that other person, even if you seem a bit quirky or different, be proud of that. And I think we're finally getting people to be proud of all the good things about themselves.
Yeah.
And not just focusing on, I have a disability. And that's why we use the word varied ability now, because you're not just your disability.
No, and I liken it to the rainbow of humanity. So what shade of the rainbow are you? And have pride in that.
Oh, look, and like I said before, the changes now, and it's not that it's seeping through anymore. The changes, instead of going like this, they're going like this now.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. I think it's great. Can you let me know why everything isn't covered by the NDIS?
Well, everything's not covered by the NDIS because there are other systems in place. Other systems have been in place for a long time. Now, even non-acute things can be handled in other arenas. Like we spoke about early childhood. They're now making that a whole bigger sector to take the burden off NDIS because it's very specialised. So I think we'll see a lot more specialisation actually, and I think it's probably going to be a very good thing because the NDIS is very broad spectrum, right? I personally am really enjoying the fact that I think we're moving down a pathway where you've got this, we're going to make it more specialised and more involved. Now, you may say, well, why can't we just lump it together forever? Because if you are a worker in a particular section, you may have to have a whole heap of knowledge to do with autism rather than just this broad spectrum. It gives better care and service. And I think the government is obviously trying to make it financially efficient as well.
Of course. What happens when somebody can't actually handle their plan or can't actually negotiate the amazingly huge amount of work that would be involved?
So providers and care teams, even if you are managing your own plan, the plan managers make sure that you're not overusing your funds these days, which never happened before because people would run out. Because it is choice and control. So if you mismanage your plan, you would run out of money. But there's a lot more safety measures now. Plan managers make sure you're not overusing within payment periods. Support coordinators should be looking at your plan, making sure it's going to go the period. It could be 6-month plan, 12-month plan, even a 3-year plan. There's a lot more rigour and control. Even organisations like ours, who never even used to get a copy of the plan. We'd ask for it, but they would never give it to us. We almost demand it now, so we make sure that we're doing, even though we aren't fiscal management for the client, we make sure there's the due diligence there. Now, to answer your question, if you can't manage your plan, often family members help. But there is a mechanism where people have the NDIS actually manage their plan.
Wow.
And the provider goes directly to the NDIS. We have portals and all sorts of back-end systems we use, and we put the bills through there. And it's all regulated and checked.
Well, that would wipe out a lot of the bad stuff that was happening around the NDIS, wouldn't it?
Well, here's the funny thing. It's very regulated. The news, you hear bad stories. Disability is sensational. If this was plumbing companies, it wouldn't be on the news all the time. And the honest truth is, there's a lot of amazing organisations out there. Yes, we have had issues in the past, and the NDIS is clearing up a lot of these.
Great. So how do you see neurodiverse people benefiting from the NDIS?
I think there's a lot more access, and I think there's a lot more knowledge to know where to access. Don't forget, there's a lot of people who become separated from families, especially with mental health issues. It becomes a real burden. Sometimes these people can even have behaviours of concern. They could be violent even. So there's lots of pathways and lots of guidance. And just remember, this system is very different to how it used to be. Our organisation specialises in one-to-one care. And let me tell you, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. So there's a great presumption that the NDIS is hugely and massively expensive. How expensive is it?
To give you, I'll give you some figures. So you're looking around 52, I think it's $1 billion or whatever it is. They're looking at ramping up in this year about 8%. We get paid less than a gardener gets paid as an organisation per hour. It's very cost efficient to the previous government system. The previous government system, I'm not trying to knock it, but it basically collapsed. And that's why the government, and good on them, said we need to do something about this. The NDIS gets a lot of talked about a lot in the media because, oh, you're wasting people's money. They're just having exorbitant things. They're actually not.
Yeah.
They're doing the basic things: community access, capacity building, living a life with dignity. Because if you can't get out in the community, it affects your mental health. It's one of the biggest things.
Yep.
Being non-ambulatory, you can't go and swimming to do your exercise. It's a big thing to mental health. It affects mental health massively. Even if that person has another disability, they still need that access. This whole concept from 30 years ago where you plonk them in a room and no one sees them, that's out the window. There's lots of great providers doing great work, doing all sorts of... And don't forget, these plans are regulated. We have plans that we have to follow. There's shift notes that we follow for progress. We have care team meetings to see how we're going or re-identify things that can help. Because it is a system built for improvement. Not everybody can improve, that's a reality. But I see people a year or two down the track that are doing more than I ever thought they could.
The NDIS gets a lot of flack, and I think that's a lot. I think that says a lot about how society still sees people with disabilities, which is an unfortunate thing. But I see organisations like yours are helping people actually live their lives, which is something that people take for granted. Can you let me know about negatives or, you know, those icky things that companies do that get so blown up by the media?
Well, there's a lot of things, and I'll put a basis to this. You're dealing with families in distress. So any misstep or anything that they're not expecting can become an issue.
Yes.
Now, normally these things may not become issues. It can be anything from, let's say you have a person in a wheelchair. You might have to give them spinal bowel care. You might have to be physically touching them, right, to do this bowel care. You may not use the right cloth that they normally use. It could be something really ridiculous, and it becomes a big issue. So there's the pressure that carers have. Any misstep, anything they're doing in public. We have policies at our organisation not to be playing on their phones and be client focused and stuff.
Yeah.
But what happens if the office has to ring them about an emergency, or they need to ring the office to make sure they're taking this person to the right hospital appointment? Society judged them. So I wouldn't say these are icky things. There are icky things because it's very in your face emotionally.
Yeah.
We're lucky we have had carers from the very beginning. Like, we're a decade old, right? The burnout rate in this industry is phenomenal. Okay. The average a lot of companies have is 9 months.
I can imagine.
So it's high. So we spend a lot of time training, a lot of time supporting our staff, because they're the people that are supporting the clients through the icky things. And all sorts of things can come up. They can be sexual things. They can be personal hygiene things. They can be inappropriate behaviours, even to the carers.
Yes.
So it becomes sometimes very difficult to navigate. The training we have is phenomenal. I personally see so many people getting more training now, which is terrific.
It is terrific, because what we're doing here is that we're dealing with humans. This is human upon human. It must be such a difficult space to work in. Do you find it?
Something I teach our staff, I tell them we're not stacking boxes. And what I mean by that is we are dealing with humans. And I preach these things over and over again. It's an extremely difficult space. So you need two things to work in this space. You need to have the chops to actually do it, but you actually need to care. And there's a downside to caring, because it is emotionally draining. I have clients that are in hospital and I'm checking on them. And I'm a human being. I might have known this client for years. I had one on the weekend and I'm checking in with a single mum who's crying because she needs the support. So it is emotionally draining. It's very tiring physically for some of our carers, because they have to be constantly on guard, guiding people, making sure they're safe. It's not a babysitting job. A lot of people in society think we're just babysitters. It's very complicated, very draining, but the rewards are phenomenal when you see improvements.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thank you very much, James, for the work that you do, and thank you so very much for coming onto this show and explaining to everybody about the NDIS from a provider's point of view. It's been valuable.
Thanks, Eva. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That's all for this week. If you want to get in touch, send us an email. We'll see you next week.